I've worked in many different establishments, but there are a lot of traditional practices that are still based in a house structure, set up in towns. They're a challenge sometimes because they grow organically and rooms are bolted on and things are changed, but you're always left with this structure of external walls and weight-bearing walls which are very difficult to alter. So there are some beautiful places. I've worked in Victorian buildings in these stunning rooms with all the kind of architraves and stuff in there, but it can lead to logistical problems, especially when it comes to expanding, because there isn't really anywhere to go. First opinion, we've got there's 8 branches in total, the kind of hub and spoke system with the hospital sitting in the centre. Different branches have different capabilities. Some do orthopaedics, some do kind of internal medical referrals. We've got 2 certificate holders in the practices. Some do predominantly first opinion, some kind of do a proper mixed. Often it depends on the capability of the vets that are there, but also on the equipment and all those things that the practices have. At the hospital, we do some first opinion, but increasingly more and more it's the hospital work and the more intensive workups, the more complex work that we tend to do, and that takes up a lot of time, and obviously we have cases being fed in from the branches with regular frequency, which adds an element of unpredictability to trying to sort out our schedule for the day, because we can't know what's going to come in, but clinically that tends to be the most interesting work. It had almost no impact negatively on the staff, and actually had quite a positive impact, because I think by that stage a lot of people wanted a change, and they see this as the opportunity to do it. So personally it's been a really good interjection by VP, and it's kind of what this business needed, I think, at that stage. I think it's something we'd like to do. I think what you find is the out of hours. We've started to do it for other businesses, and we're going to look to expand that out, because we're the only one locally that run a 24 hours of care. Obviously branches do their own out of hours, but there aren't people on site. There's always people on site here. That takes a huge amount of resources. It takes a lot of wage costs, as well as everything else. So the logic is, when that service is becoming increasingly better, is to expand that out to have more people coming in. The reality is that once you start getting these cases in, a lot of them need more work. They need further workups. You need internal medicines and surgeons. So it's looking for that capability within our day staff to handle those cases that are coming in. So it's getting more certificate holders or people who work at that level or want to achieve that level is a massive strategic goal for us, and it's definitely where we feel we need to get to, so we can give that high level of clinical care to the patients that are coming in. One of the big things is actually just addressing performance. I think it's something that's not done a lot, having good appraisal systems in place that actually mean something rather than just going through the formalities. We are doing increasingly more analysis of the business internally, individuals' performance, not in a kind of draconian way, but just in a way to try and get some data out. With so many branches, they all need to know how they're doing. Generally people are motivated by the fact they're doing well. I don't know anyone who doesn't genuinely care whether they're doing better or not. If they are, you'd question whether they're in the right job. We use increasingly more internal benchmarks. We're looking at how other practices perform, so we've got a very accurate likeness, and that's stuff that we take out to branch meetings, let them know the financial performance, how they're doing. Ultimately you can't, as clinically minded as you are, you can't separate clinical and financial. Even if you're clinically focused, you still want the equipment, the diagnostic equipment, the CPD, the time off, the good work-life balance, and that can only be given by a business if they have adequate financial resources. So you can't not cross these bridges and not have these conversations, otherwise no one wins and the profession doesn't progress. I think that's the ethos about not unnecessarily prescribing drugs. There are obviously very appropriate times to do that, but I think as a profession, because we've undercharged our professional services historically and try to keep those low, we've relied on the markups from drugs to bolster the income. The problem is that sets a mindset of the fact that all animals should go out with medication, which is amazingly something I heard from someone at a job interview as their ethos. Obviously I didn't take the job, but we have to value our time as professionals, and actually it takes quite a lot of confidence for someone to come in and say, this is what's wrong, there is no medication, come back and we'll reassess it, and it's something that we promote heavily. Anyone who's been in a business where they feel stressed, overworked, undervalued, they just burn out. They can tolerate it for a certain amount of time, and then they just capitulate. They leave the profession sometimes because they get so disillusioned. So the reality is that we need to look at the well-being of the people in a high-stress environment, which is not particularly financially rewarded compared to other professional services. So, you know, we ask people to work very long hours, unsociable hours. There's not many people I know that are on call Christmas Day or have worked Christmas Day, no matter how tough they think their job is. And we have to appreciate that people in this profession need this work-life balance. And as a business, we need to try and provide it as best we can. If we don't, you then lose staff, have more of a recruitment issue, you're relying on locums, who you can't always get, which means you put more work on your present staff, which erodes their work-life balance, and it can be a real kind of spiral downwards. So there are financial implications because your wage bill is going to be higher, but you have to think about the kind of long-term gain and the long-term strategy that you're after trying to retain these core staff. And if you can turn the spiral around and get it upwards where people want to stay, the business will just flow out. It's a huge people-related income. All the money is really generated from people and their abilities. So essentially, if you get your HR strategies right and your human resources look after them, is that the financial stuff will just follow and flow on naturally, so long as you've got some kind of adjustment and you're watching what's going on. But you get that bit right and you manage your business well, then the money is really a byproduct of a well-run business rather than what should dictate what the business does. I would love to kind of develop and push the practice on. I mean, one of the advantages with VP is they have a huge amount of capital. It's conversations that I have about, you know, with partners and with individuals about partner structures. It's always their money. So you're asking people to invest in a CT scan or invest in a new building, invest in this. Is they have to come up with the money. It's their risk, which is a lot to ask individuals. The reality is that with VP, because it's so much bigger, is that they are much more likely to invest in this equipment, which allows us to progress as a business. They're a much bigger picture, looking at all these practices and driving the whole of their units forward. So we're hoping certainly with VP and their interest in driving the business forward, that we will continue to develop and develop into almost that second tier level of referral system, which is where we'd love to be.